Hello there, Commonwealth from here. Will 2022, after the delay of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 to spring 2023, become the first year in a decade without a Zelda or Hyrule Warriors game release? It is actually quite possible. That is unless Nintendo pulls out another Wii U emergency card, which they did with Hyrule Warriors. Specifically in 2018 with Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition on the Switch. Thus, history could repeat itself, and in the end we could get the Wii U Zelda remake and or remaster while we wait for the release of the 20th Zelda game. So be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, as we are less than 4,000 away from 300,000 subscribers, and with it our Switch OLED plus game giveaway. And let's get into the realistic answer and fitting analysis. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD with its massive open Great Sea. Probably the most competent and beloved Zelda remake to date that was used as a stepping stone towards the open world of Breath of the Wild's Hyrule. Released in 2013 to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the global launch of the first big change for 3D Zelda, and it was simply a masterpiece. It is just that the anniversary of this release did not apply to Japan, where the game first came out on the GameCube on December 13, 2002, which is by the way the day I turned 10.5 years old. Here is the thing. In the last few years we have seen Nintendo focusing less on North American release dates and anniversaries, but rather Japanese. And as you have guessed it, come this December, 20 years have passed since the release of The Wind Waker on the GameCube. Fittingly enough, Nintendo's already sitting on a ready port to release, as the Wii U version of the game already had a non-gamepad option where you sorted and dealt with your items the traditional way instead of on the gamepad, much like in Breath of the Wild. But wait a minute, shouldn't we get the 3DS remake of Ocarina of Time first before Wind Waker HD? Creating a certain order of remakes brought over to Switch, beginning from the first 3D Zelda game that was remade and released in 2011, and then moving on across the 3 other remade games. I could have seen this happening if Breath of the Wild 2 wasn't delayed to 2023, but only for one reason: the 25th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, 1998 to 2023. Naturally, this would just be an upscaling to HD of the 3DS version, much like we saw with Miitopia, and not a full-on HD remake on the scale of, say, Final Fantasy VII Remake. But what do I mean by Miitopia, as that was a game which was upscaled last year by Grezzo, who also remade Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask for the 3DS. And it would have fit. Or if you know which game is coming out in spring 2023, it is clear that something is needed to fill the all of the sudden massive gap in 2022. In this case, no other title is more fitting and easy to bring over to the Switch than the Wind Waker HD. Yes, Nintendo also has Twilight Princess HD as good as ready to bring over from the Wii U to the Switch, but hear me out. Imagine a massive partially non-linear open sea before the next open-air adventure, a timeless classic that many have not played before, since it has only been available on Nintendo's 2 worst-selling TV consoles of all time, the GameCube and the Wii U. And in this regard it is worth to mention that the 2013 Wii U remake provided massive quality of life overhauls and progression improvements over the original, a game which cel-shaded art style still looks brand new nearly 20 years after the original GameCube release. And a remade version of the game that only sold 2.35 million units on the Wii U across 4 years, compared to Link's Awakening Switch remake's nearly double 5.5 million copies sold in a little over a year. And do keep in mind that the Wind Waker HD is one of the very best Zelda games, and in my eyes, on the or very near the podium of the best Zelda games of all time. In fact, I even consider the story found in the game the best in the entire 35+ year long series. The 2013 version of the game is a timeless masterpiece, as the only 3D Zelda game to date where you can switch between playing normal or hero mode at any point in the quest. Yes, an actual difficulty setting in a Zelda game, and which you can adjust at any point within the game itself. And a remake which addressed the sailing frustrations of the original thanks to the quick save, and the most annoying part of the game by simplifying the dreaded Triforce Shard quest. This game is probably the least controversial Zelda remake to date, which meets only a few critical voices. Partially for the bloom effects, and the other one being the number of dungeons. But that is due to the fact that the remake didn't fill in the cut dungeons and islands that were not able to make it into the 2002 original. And here we find a great opportunity for justifying a 2022 Switch port of the already remade game, which could be revealed this summer, possibly in a Nintendo Direct during Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. Naturally, with the easy additions, a new island added here and there, and maybe one of the cut dungeons. Not of the third stage, but one that makes sense within the story of the game. Do this, and you can justify either Wind Waker of the Great Sea Switch release, or due to time constraints, they just might update the HUD and menus of the Wii U version and call it a day. Since until the delay of Breath of the Wild 2 from 2022, a version of Wind Waker HD on the Switch was probably not planned until 2023, so the 20th anniversary of the worldwide release. All in line with Nintendo's aim of having one themed Zelda release every year. But now, with the delay, we have probably been witnesses of a switch between the two releases. Which still fits for Nintendo, since the original Japanese GameCube release of the game was not in 2003, but December 2002. Setting up the perfect opportunity for Nintendo to first celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Wind Waker on the Switch before the year of the 20th Zelda game. Thus, just changing the release year order of two planned releases and still creating a proper celebration for both of them. And even so, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, with its delay, can now fully embrace the clear theme of tree found in the game and combinations of these, possibly even with a free 2023 release. Though when I think of it, that is still winter and not spring. But we will see, and that is also beside the point of the video, which is about the Wind Waker HD Switch Edition, a game that I can see revealed by the end of June and possibly released as early as August, but at the latest October, depending on whether Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope or Bayonetta 3 joins Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 with a delay to 2023. If Sparks of Hope needs more time, say until an early December holiday release, then that would open August 2022 for a release of the Wind Waker, a turn of events that would be pretty much ideal in every way. For one, as Summer or Summer Game Fest June reveal will result in a very short wait for the release, around 2 months, so the same as what was the case with Age of Calamity in 2020, another year where E3 was completely cancelled. Secondly, an August release means that the Wii U remake Deluxe to the Switch will be out over 1 year after Skyward Sword HD's release in 2021, while still being at the very least around 7 months away from the release of Breath of the Wild 2 in spring 2023. A perfect release pattern that benefits us Zelda fans, who get a big adventure to replay, while most Nintendo Switch owners and newcomer Breath of the Wild fans get to experience proper open sea sailing in a Zelda game they have never played before. All in the final months leading up to the release of the 20th Zelda game, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which might get its final title after the reveal of the Wind Waker Switch. But wait a minute, does this mean that Nintendo will not bundle the Wind Waker HD together with Twilight Princess HD? That is probably right, and the motivation for splitting them up is obviously money. Nintendo would never sell two 3D Zelda games together for $60, especially not two remakes originally released in the last decade. The reason is simple. In their eyes, all 3D Zelda games which have been upgraded are worth $60, or might require some additional content in order to justify that price for the consumer, much like we have seen with past Wii U to Switch Deluxe ports. The way I see it, Wind Waker HD on the Switch for the 20th anniversary of the original GameCube release in Japan is the perfect Zelda plan from Nintendo for 2022, one of the longest Zelda quests of all time, before the most likely longest quest of all time in spring 2023. So if we don't see Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD together, when can we expect to see Twilight Princess again? It might be on the Switch as early as in early 2024, or later on in say 2025, or even more fitting 2026 for the 20th anniversary of the original release of Twilight Princess. Obviously, I would prefer to see Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD together on the Switch this year, and also in a proper bundle, and still have a little hope of it. Though with the delay of Breath of the Wild 2, I think that Nintendo needs to prioritize the Wind Waker HD in 2022. And it wouldn't surprise me to see a release pattern like this for the next couple of years. Wind Waker HD Switch 2022, Breath of the Wild 2 Spring 2023, Ocarina of Time 3D upscaled, Metopia-like 3DS to Switch treatment 2024, a new top-down Zelda or top-down Zelda remake, or Twilight Princess HD between 2025 and 2026. A perfect business plan for Nintendo. But what do you think of all of this? And will we see the reveal and release of the Wind Waker HD Switch in 2022? Sound off in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe plus press that notification bell to not miss any of upcoming Zelda videos, and also get us past 300,000 subscribers. Less than 4,000 left to go, and I would love to break this milestone before my 30th birthday on June 13th, and by doing so, also delivering our Switch OLED plus game giveaway faster. Last but definitely not least, a big thanks to you for watching to the end, and to all our patreon.com/comearound patrons, and in particular our royal producer Charles Shash. You all rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.